on the 23rd of November, 1555. A.D. 1555, unholy hands were laid at Dordrecht in Holland upon several of the saints of God, of whom, among others, there is mentioned by name a God-fearing woman named Digna Peters, who, being a citizeness of said city, had at the same time a citizenship also in the spiritual city of God, that is, in the Church of Jesus Christ on earth, yea, also because of her integrity in the new and heavenly Jerusalem which is above, in which and of which she was regenerated by the word of truth. On account of the faith which she had in common with the dear friends and children of God, she was imprisoned and severely proceeded against in various ways for the purpose of causing her to apostatize from the faith, but as they could make her but as they could make no progress in the matter, since she was founded upon the immovable cornerstone, that is, Christ Jesus, they resolved to put an end to her citizenship, and at the same time also to her life. Thereupon it followed that the Chamber of Justice, through the instrumentality of the bench of judges and the council of said city, with public striking of the bell, disfranchised her before the steps leading up to the city hall on the 17th of November of said year, to be further dealt with as the lords of said chamber should find or judge proper. Concerning this there remains, though almost obliterated by age, the following act in the book of records of said city, in keeping with the secretary there. Actum per campanam. Footnote. Actum per campanam, i.e., done through the bell or striking of the bell. End footnote. The 17th of November, 1555. Whereas Digna Peters, citizeness of this city, at present a prisoner, has without pain of iron bonds openly confessed before the bench of judges and the council of this city to have been rebaptized, etc. Footnote. And to hold pernicious views with regard to baptism, etc., it seems to read here. End footnote. Also to have held conventicles contrary to the faith, holy sacraments, and other services and ceremonies of the Holy Church. Therefore, the council of the aforesaid city has disenfranchised said Digna Peters, and disenfranchises her by these presents. Further to be proceeded against, as the aforesaid council, according to the exigency of the circumstances of the case, shall deem proper. Thereupon follows in said book how the Chamber of Justice proceeded against her 6 days afterwards, in regards to which the following words are found. Digna Peters drowned. Today, the 23rd of November, A.D. 1555, Digna Peters, by virtue of a certain sentence given and pronounced, footnote, whether it was customary in the city at that time to read in court sentences the death passed in matters of faith, we have not been able to ascertain, end footnote, by the bench of judges and the council of this city by word of mouth, by the mouth of Wouter Barthoots, judge in the law, was put into a bag and drowned in Puttock's Tower. Extracted from the book of records of the city at Dordrecht. Commenced the last day of October 1554 and concluded the 16th of June 1573. This was the end of this valiant heroine of Jesus, who, though she was secretly murdered in a tower, like Joris Whip and others, will hereafter, in the great day of the Lord, be brought openly to light. Then it shall be seen what difference there will be between those who did this and her who suffered it, since every one shall receive in his body according to that he hath done, whether it be good or bad. 2 Corinthians 5:10. This Puttock's Tower, where the martyrdom took place, stood close by a gate of the Gutehoft of the city of Dordrecht, but it afterwards fell by reason of great age, or as a signal warning of God on account of this murder. In this place stands now a house, in the gable of which these words are carved in hard stone. Through the falling of Puttock's Tower, I was built, and stand to this hour. As to the persons who in said year administered criminal or capital justice, and consequently executed this work, they were, according to John Beverwijck's history of the government of the city of Dordrecht, the following: Adrian von Bleeberg, Adrianus, bailiff, and 9 judges as follows: Jacob Adrianes, Philip van Beverwyck, Ogiers, Merton Schrevel Dirks, Jacob Ohm, Sir Jacobs, Peter Muis Jacobs, Schrevel, Sir Ockers, Wouter Barthoets, Cornelis van Beveren, Sir Claes, Wouter van Drankwert, Sir Wilms. But whether all these judges, together with the bailiff, concurred in the aforesaid sentence, or whether Wouter Barthoets, who was present at her death, was the chief instigator of this work, it is not expressed. However, it seems that the majority did not have much pleasure in it, since Wouter Barthoets alone, as it seems, with the executioner and the servants of justice, was present at the death of this woman. You will take me to a jungle. Nice. Quick shout out to my Baz. Crazy, crazy. It's kind of funny, I have 2 likes already on me just reading a book to Audacity and editing the audio. Good morning, how's everybody doing? I'm testing out live streaming while I record the audiobook, because I record audiobooks anyway, so I might as well stream during it. Hi, Irma. Yeah. So now while I do this, I have a fun chat to read. Yeah, the book I'm recording is Martyr's Mirror, and I'm about halfway through this. This is over 1,000 pages. Do you know Roblox? I know of it. I don't play it. Yeah. Fun times. Apparently Roblox is super good, says Irma. I played Minecraft. Is that... I'm pretty sure that's like somewhat similar. I wish I had more time for games. Some people don't like Minecraft. I love it. Minecraft is cool. Thanks for watching, by the way. 104 worlds. That's more than I have. A very casual player of Minecraft, am I? You're welcome. Yeah, so I just read a passage to Audacity, and now I'm editing out like the blank audio and all the places where I stumbled over my words. And when I finish this, I'm gonna export the MP3 and then record the next section. $100. I would like $100. I'm sure everyone would. What else do I do? Well, I do YouTube shorts of paintings. Lately, it's been Russian realist painters from the 19th century. I'm doing Surikov right now, and I'm going chronological order, like the paintings he did during his life. I like going chronological order, one artist at a time, so I can like follow where they were and what they were doing as they go through their life. So I do that. I need to get back into making my Gulag Archipelago summary. I'm doing an audiobook of Martyr's Mirror right now. Work, sleep, repeat, you know. I do kickboxing. That's fun. As far as non-YouTube stuff. Joe says, hey, I gave my granddad a snowboard last week. He's been going downhill ever since. Funny. Cool, Joe. Oh, by the way, happy Armistice Day, 11/11. This is the day in history that the First World War came to an end. So that's fun. Coffee, by the way, is essential. This is fun having a live going while I do recording and editing. I should do this more often. Medium pepperoni says, put poly something on your facial hair, shave it off in one piece, so you can put it back on as the occasion dictates. That would be funny. Painful, but funny. What's everyone else got going on today? I'm editing this video, and then in a couple hours I'm gonna go to work. Then after work I got some stuff to do around the house, and then gonna go to a Zoom meeting and talk about local politics. That's what my day looks like. Why do you not have your beard? I mean, it's not like a full beard, but it's something. I'm also editing. Shave. I probably should shave more often. I just get lazy. Sick mustache, bro. Thank you. Grew it myself. Everyone asks me if I wax, but it just naturally does that. I think what I do is I just, without thinking of it, I like play with it and shapes like that. No wax required. Just got here, gotta say, what a stash. Wow, yeah, I get that a lot. Used to have a handlebar, but now have a chevron. But and export MP3. Do. Let's see. Yes. Yes. Naming the file. Cool. Now I'm going to record the next section, which might take like 15 minutes or so. So enjoy 15 minutes of me talking. Hey, I slept at my girlfriend's house last week for the first time. Her dad wouldn't let us sleep together, which is a shame, as he's really attractive. Renewal of the previous bloody decrees of Emperor Charles V against the Baptists or so-called Anabaptists by Philip II, King of Spain, A.D. 1556. Up to this time, Emperor Charles V was alone, or at least chiefly responsible, for the shedding of the blood of the saints in the Netherlands, as also for the most cruel tyrannies, which, through the instrumentality of the Inquisition, and through what followed afterwards, were inflicted upon them by fire, water, sword, and otherwise. But in this year his son, Philip II, King of Spain, following in his father's footsteps, instead of lightening the constraint of conscience, caused all the previous bloody and cruel decrees which his father had issued against the so-called heretics to be renewed and confirmed, especially the most cruel decree published on the 25th of September 1550, the contents of which we have reserved until the present time, but will now, as renewed A.D. 1556, adduce here. However, not with all its particulars, but only so far as it was directed principally against the Anabaptists and their doctrine. In the book in which the Prince of Orange, William I, defends himself against the false charges which his adversary sought unjustly to bring against him, printed 1569, mention of this is made in the following words: of the ordinances and decrees made for all times and for general observance and proclaimed everywhere from the 25th of September 1550 and renewed and confirmed by his royal majesty in the year 1556. We likewise forbid all lay persons and others to converse or dispute concerning the Holy Scriptures, whether openly or secretly, especially in doubtful and difficult matters, or to teach, expound, or interpret the Holy Scriptures to others, unless they who do so be theologians and versed in divinity and spiritual law, and approved by some noble university or others authorized thereto by the ordinary of the place. Be it well understood, however, that this is not to be regarded as relating to those who simply and exclusively converse together on the aforesaid Holy Scriptures, adducing thereto the expositions of holy and approved doctors, but to those who, in order to seduce others, or to teach and instruct them in that which is forbidden, maintain and teach contrary to the ordinances of our mother, the Holy Church, evil and false propositions and doctrines, who are notoriously considered heretics, or to preach, defend, allege, or maintain openly or secretly any doctrines of the aforementioned authors, on pain that if any be found to have acted contrary to any of the above stated points, they shall be punished as seditious persons and disturbers of our realm and the common peace, to be executed as such. Namely, the men with the sword and the women burned alive, that is, if they will not maintain or defend their errors. But if they persist in their errors, opinions, or heresies, they are to be executed with fire, and in every case all their property is declared confiscated and forfeited for our benefit. And as regards what we had obtained in the previous decrees and our last ordinances, that from the day they had acted contrary thereto, or had fallen into the aforesaid errors, they should be disqualified from disposing of their property, and that all alienations, gifts, cessions, sales, conveyances, transfers, testaments, or last wills, made and executed by them from said day on, should be null, invalid, and void. Again, since many from our aforesaid countries, suspected of heresy, especially of the sect of the Anabaptists, change their place of abode to infect the simple in places where their character is not known, we, in order to guard against this, will ordain and decree that none of the inhabitants of our aforesaid Netherlands, of whatever state, quality, or condition he be, shall be admitted or received into any city or village of said countries, there to live, except he brings with him a certificate from the parish priest of the place where he last resided. I am in Pennsylvania. I just paused the recording to answer chat. Yeah, I'm in Pennsylvania, and the book is Martyr's Mirror. This is a book of martyrs, specifically Anabaptist martyrs. So I'm reading from a decree by Philip II, King of Spain, in the year 1556. Du Schwohlaus. See ya, Irma. Thanks for listening. Okay, back to recording. Which certificate he shall be obliged to show and deliver into the hands of the principal officer of the city or village where he intends to live, on pain that those who do not bring such certificates shall not be admitted to live there. And we charge the officers diligently to inform themselves with regard to them, and to proceed therein, as shall be proper, without our aforesaid officers, or the particular lords and their officers, being permitted to grant such persons any pass or safe conduct. Again, that all who have knowledge of any that are tainted with heresy shall be bound immediately and without delay to accuse, report, and indicate them to all spiritual judges, deputies of the bishops, and other proper persons. Likewise, if any be found to have acted contrary to these our ordinances and prohibitions, showing himself to be infected or favor of the heretics, or committing any act contrary to these our ordinances and prohibitions, especially anything tending to scandal or sedition, that those who have knowledge of them shall be bound immediately to report to our proctors, or their substitutes and commissaries, or to the officers of the place where such tainted favorers or offenders shall live, and this on the pain of arbitrary punishment. In like manner they shall be bound, if they know the place where any of such heretics keep or shelter themselves, to indicate it to the officer of said place on pain of being considered, as stated before, favorers, entertainers, and adherents of heresy, and punished with the same punishment as would be inflicted upon the heretic or offender if he should be apprehended. And in order that the aforesaid judges and officers who shall apprehend said heretics, Anabaptists, and transgressors of our aforesaid ordinances and prohibitions may have no reason under the pretence that the punishment seemed too great and severe, and were only decreed to deter the delinquents, Anabaptists, and offenders, to dissemble with them their accomplices and favorers, or to punish them less than they have deserved, as has been found to have frequently been done therefore. Therefore, we will that those whom they know to have acted contrary to the ordinances, or who have kept in their possession, printed, sold, distributed, or published any heretical, scandalous books, writings, or have contravened the points already indicated, or to be stated hereafter, or some of them, shall be acted, punished, and corrected with the punishment set forth above. We forbid all our judges, judiciaries, and officers, as also our vassals and subjects, temporal lords who exercise high justice, and their officers in any wise to alter, mitigate, or change the aforesaid punishments, those ordained to be inflicted with the sword, earth, or fire, but on having taken cognizance of such contravention, plainly do declare and decree the aforesaid punishments pursuant to these present ordinances, on pain of being severely punished, unless that in some particular case said judges, because of great and important considerations, should find difficulty as to the exact execution of the punishment decreed against the transgressor by our aforesaid ordinances, in which case they may nevertheless not mitigate the punishment of their own accord, but shall be bound to carry or send the criminal process, faithfully closed and sealed, to the sovereign or provincial council, under whose jurisdiction they shall belong, there to be examined and deliberated on as to whether any alteration or mitigation of the aforesaid punishment is proper or not. And if our aforesaid councillors find that in good justice, according to right and reason, in regard to which we charge their consciences, any mitigation or alteration is proper, in such a case they may advise them by writing and send it all to said judges and officers, that the latter may finish and terminate said process in accordance with it. We command them to do nothing less, and enjoin them very expressly and strictly, on pain of being arbitrarily corrected and punished, not to make use of said consultations without great and important reasons, but be governed as much as they can by the contents of these present ordinances, extracted from the Great Book of Decrees of Ghent, in which are collected all the decrees, mandates, and ordinances of Emperor Charles V and the King and of King Philip II, and cited by William I, Prince of Orange, in his defense against his adversaries, edition 1569. And I'm back. Book written by sinners. Have fun with that. Who's still on? Hey everybody, how's it going? I see some new people came in. Right now I'm editing some audio that I just recorded. Who's awake? Anyone awake? Chat, entertain me. Wagwan boss. Cool. How's it going, Reese? I'm curious, what time zone's everyone from? I am not near Boston. The closest major city is Philly. I'm like sorta middle of Pennsylvania-ish, more like southeast Pennsylvania. These days I actually spend more time in New York than Philly. I'm in North Korea. Kim says, fuck you. Nice. I hope Kim has a nice day. Bleh. Congrats on the pronunciation of my name. Hardly anyone gets it. It helps I'm reading Martyr's Mirror, and I'm in the 1500s where like almost everything is from the Netherlands. So I'm learning the pronunciation. If it was French, I would not get it. Kentucky, 4:52 a.m. Yep, 4:53 a.m. here. Some advice regarding metal detecting etiquette. I've only been metal detecting like a handful of times, but I mean, go ahead, sure. Yellow says, sir. Is this still a sober live stream? Currently, yes, but it doesn't have to be. I mean, for me, it has to be because I have work in a couple hours, but for you, it doesn't have to be. I'm always sober. I do drink coffee often. I drink too much coffee. In fact, I've been thinking about doing like a caffeine detox, like a couple weeks or maybe a month without caffeine to like reset my system, reset my tolerance, because like I drink so much coffee and it didn't used to be this way. Last time I did that was, I think it was October of 23, something like that. And by the end of it, I was like, a tiny bit of coffee did what a whole cup used to do for me. Detecting metal. Meeting all fines of the month are displayed on a fines table. My question is, if you find a fines table, would the other fines be displayed on that one or the original table? I have not been to a detecting meeting. Am I up early or not slept yet? I'm up early. I am a crazy person. I get up early because I enjoy having quiet time in the morning to either be productive or not, whatever I feel like. Rehab is for quitters. Gandhi said that, according to Yellow. Nice. But yeah, I get up early on a regular basis. I enjoy it. Thanks for hanging out with me this morning. I'm not going offline yet. I'm still editing audio. Love the mustache. Thank you. I love it too. Nice one. You must go to sleep early in that case. 9:56 a.m. there, and I assume that's Western Europe. Nice. Yeah. I gotta sleep kind of early. I usually get like 5 hours, something like that. Sir, a month without coffee or a month not choking the eagle, respectfully. Do you goon? I try not to. Mustache looks good. You should purchase a rapier. I really should. The mustache loves you too, I can tell. Uh, Tips to stop gooning. It's a long process and not an easy one. Yeah, good luck to you, genuinely. God has guided me, and I'm further along than I ever thought was possible. I'll say that. I don't know how much fixing that is possible for me, but I'm still trying and I'm still making progress. The time is in Wales, UK. Oh, cool. Yeah. Haven't been to Wales. I've been to London. I've been to Aberdeen, Edinburgh, Glasgow. More Scotland than England. My concern is that if the other fines are displayed on the fines table, then the found table might be overlooked. Do you think my concerns are justified? I'm not having been to a metal detecting meetup. I'm having a hard time like imagining. Joe, gooning is choking the chicken, cranking the hog, that kind of thing. Are you from the 1700s? I try to be. Surviving a heart attack. I can't knock that addiction. Yeah, I can't tell if Yellow is talking about coffee or gooning, but either way. The history of parking. That, in New York City, that actually sounds like it might make an interesting video. What happened to Man in Black? I remember that movie. That was, wow. Is that like 20 years old at this point? That's scary to think about. Hey, okay, thanks for the intel. You've been very helpful. I'm glad I've been helpful, Joe. Mustache is so timeless. He can be from any year and it would still look cool. I'm glad people like my mustache so much. What's your favorite dessert? Probably chocolate ice cream or anything with apple. Sub, you're a cool dude. Thank you. Who knew? Coffee and Gooning chat is entertaining. Yeah, who knew? Growing lights in the back. Not specifically. That right there is a jade plant that I've had for a few years, and it does get bigger. It gets bigger so slowly that it's hard to notice, but it does get bigger. Requiem for a Dream. No, haven't watched that. How much does it cost for a pirate to get his ears pierced? That's gonna have a good punchline. My favorite person. Oh, I'm glad. Genetic flashbacks to Cole Custard. My favorite topic of discussion. I like discussing a lot of things. I like Tolstoy. I like history. I like Martyr's Mirror, God, religion, you know. Getting ready to record the next part. This one will probably be like 4 minutes. So enjoy 4 minutes of me reading from this book. Augustine the Baker, A.D. 1556. A.D. 1556 or thereabouts. There was in Beverwyck a brother named Augustine, a baker by trade, who had forsaken the world and been rebaptized upon his faith, according to the ordinance of Christ, which the papists could not endure. There was at the time a burgomaster who was very bitter, and filled with perverted zeal, who sometimes said that he would furnish the peat and wood to burn Augustine. The bailiff had said that he should not apprehend Augustine without previously warning him, but he did not keep his word, for he came upon a time when Augustine was at his work, kneading dough. Perceiving him, Augustine attempted to flee, but was instantly seized by his pursuers and cast into prison, and as he was a man who was much beloved, it greatly grieved the bailiff's wife, who said to her husband, "Oh, you murderer, what have you done?" But all in vain. He had to follow his Lord Jesus as a lamb is led to the slaughter. As he steadfastly adhered to his faith, they passed a cruel sentence on him, namely that he should be tied to a ladder and thus cast alive into the fire and burned. On his way to death, he saw one of his acquaintances, to whom he said, "Farewell, Just Cornelissen." The latter, prompted by his good opinion of him, replied in a friendly manner, "I hope that we shall hereafter be together forever." Whereupon said burgomaster replied out of a heart judging with partiality, "He will not get to the place whither you will go, but he goes from this fire into the eternal." Thereupon Augustine said to the burgomaster, "I cite you to appear within 3 days before the judgment seat of God." As soon as the execution was over, the burgomaster was instantly smitten with a raging sickness, and continually cried with a guilty conscience, "Peat and wood, so that it was terrible to hear, and before the 3 days had expired, he died, which was a great sign of the all-seeing eye of God, who would not suffer such cruelty to go unpunished, as an example to all those who, from perverse blindness, should commit such deeds, for it is often seen that those who think to do God service by exercising tyrannical cruelty over the pious come to a bad end, for the Apostle James also says that they shall have judgment without mercy that have shown no mercy. May the Lord enlighten those who are in such blindness. And I'm back. Let's talk about history. If you like history, why didn't you say Colonel Custard? Do you believe in God? I do. As a fellow French handlebar mustache haber, I respect the stash. Fist bump. My favorite gay streamer. Nice. What's with the tapping? That is when I stumble over my words or mispronounce something. I'm recording this on Audacity so I can see the sounds, whatever you call it. So when I tap like that, I can see it like visually on the screen, and I know that I have to figure out where I messed up and edit that part out. Your mustache looks like two seals kissing. Oh, that makes sense now. It's really funny how my mustache has been probably the #1 discussion topic of this stream. What is your biggest dream in life? What would it take to feel accomplished if you died tomorrow? I think I had a decent life so far, but my biggest dream, I would say, is to have my fiction books be read and enjoyed by millions of people. Good mustache, though I'm not surprised. They seem to get attention. I've had people recommend me wax for mine. What did you want to discuss? I can discuss anything you want. Would you rather a shave just in the middle of the mustache or shave just outside? I would probably want to shave the middle. A dang fine answer. I'm glad I decided to try streaming during my recording time, because this has turned out fun. Question: does God necessarily send atheists to hell? Didn't God create the atheist and his ability to doubt? That's a question that humans weren't meant to know. God can do whatever he wants. I do like what C.S. Lewis wrote, though, in his last battle book about the one southerner who, despite like being raised to believe that false god, he found himself at Judgment Day like actually in heaven. How would I feel about my books turned into a TV series? If it was done right. It's hard to have it done right. Luxury of playing Club Penguin. Once upon a time, I played Club Penguin. Do I ever sleep? Oh, Maple, that. Oh, yeah, you're talking to someone else, not me. But me, I sleep sometimes. Blood Meridian. Fascinating book. Okay. I'll have to read that at some point. I haven't read it yet. People who were raised in a remote island with no knowledge or belief in God, but they live their lives towards what they know is good. Yeah, I don't think humans have the authority to say on that question. Die now or live forever? I don't think I'd want to live forever. Naming my MP3 file and getting ready to record the next segment. This one should be like 2 or 3 minutes. So, enjoy 2 or 3 minutes of me reading from this book. Francintken, Grietken, and Maken. Doornaerts, A.D. 1556. At Bel, in Flanders, 3 women were apprehended for the testimony of the truth, namely an old woman named Francintken, a young maiden named Grietken, and niece to the former, and another young maiden named Maken, Doornaerts, all of whom suffered much tribulation and torment. The old woman, when they wanted to torture her naked, said to the lords, Remember that you were born of women, therefore do not put me to shame. By which she obtained leave to keep on her shift on the rack. Great pains were taken to draw the young maiden, Grietken, from her faith, since she was still very young, but it was all in vain, for she would much rather expect eternal joy for this temporal pain or suffering, than purchase this brief and transient pleasure with everlasting suffering. The other young maiden, Maken Doornaerts, also had to lie naked on the rack, and when they could by no pain or suffering cause her to apostatize from her faith, they began to accost her with asking her whether she was not ashamed to lie there so nude. She replied, I did not place myself here naked, but you, who inflict this misery and disgrace upon me, who am innocent, shall hereafter have to suffer eternal shame and pain for it. And though she was tortured to such a degree that her blood flowed down by the rack, she nevertheless, through the grace of God, who always strengthens his own, remained steadfast in the faith. Thereupon all 3 were sentenced to death and burnt. Standing at the stake, Maken Doornaerts said, This is the hour for which I've greatly longed, that it might put an end to all my tribulation. Thus these 3 heroines valiantly fought their way through suffering all this, because they were baptized upon their faith according to the teaching of Christ, and thenceforth sought in all simplicity to serve and please the living God more than mortal men, for which they also expect the joyful crown of eternal and imperishable life. And I'm back. If you could meet God, what is your number 1 question? I really don't know. I usually have an attitude of like going with the flow as far as God questions go. Like, I very much trust that God has a good reason for doing a lot of things. Height of hubris to assume we have the answers. Yeah, pretty much. Not to have hubris to assume we know the answers, but can't we use capacity to think given to us in order to question or have genuine doubt? I think and doubt some things, but that particular one, I think it's not meant for humans to know, at least not at this time. Are you reading Harry McClary from Donaldson Diary? I am reading Martyr's Mirror. What about giving cancer to children? There's some things above our understanding that God has a plan for. I don't know, man. Certainly, we mustn't presume that doubt is the answer to the question, otherwise we cease to search for, accept, an answer. I'm chewing that over. I'm thinking about it. Hercules Morse as big as a horse. Sounds like a fun guy to meet. One thing I will say, though, like, looking at the history of how many times scriptural canon has been debated, it's easy for me to have questions about whether every single council or every single decision got it right with regards to the 66 books, which ones are canon. What came first, the chicken or the egg? Probably the chicken, because that would have evolved step by step from a single cell organism. Chickens or dinosaurs? Next question. Nice. Once upon a time, the ancestor of a dinosaur was a single cell organism. I know I'm taking the chicken and the egg question too seriously, but you know, it's fun. It's like 5:14 a.m. What else are we gonna do? Export MP3, naming my file. Yeah, let me spell this name for you. Francijntgen. That is the Dutch. Enjoy like a minute and a half of me reading this book. Abraham put to death AD 1556. In the year 1556, there was at Antwerp a very pious and God-fearing brother named Abraham, who was apprehended for his faith and, after a bold confession and steadfast adherence to the same, condemned to death, and thus publicly in the marketplace offered up an acceptable sacrifice for God, sealing the truth with his blood. John de Coudze, AD 1556. Shortly after, also, Jan de Coudze, an ardent lover of God, who had likewise been apprehended for the truth, from which he would not depart, meekly suffered death as an innocent lamb of Christ in the marketplace at Antwerp, in order to follow his Lord, and thus violently entered through the strait gate into the kingdom of God. And I'm back. If you have a time machine, what time would you go to? I would say like 1870s or 80s, probably. Oh, I could go to the future too. That would be fun. I want to like go to the future, like 100 or a couple hundred years from now, and get a history book and just see all the fun stuff that happened since my time. Grace Cook says, "Stop ignoring me." I'm sorry. I'll scroll up and see. Do you not know Harry McClary? I do not. Are you reading Harry McClary? Now I'm curious. I'm going to Google Harry McClary. Oh, it looks like a dog from a children's book. That looks neat. That looks fun and wholesome. Thank you, Grace Cook. My mustache looks like it would be cool in the 1870s. Yeah. Exactly why I'd want to visit the future. Yep. Don't think the future would be too kind to our era. Yeah. It's weird to think about because, like, I remember I took AP US history in school, and, like, comparatively, the amount of attention given to wartime and peacetime, like, I know there was a lot of domestic drama going on in, like, the 1910s and, like, the workers' rights era and all the strikes and scabs and stuff like that, but so few people are well versed in that, and so many more people are well versed in, like, Civil War, World War II, all the wars. So, like, this era, there's not a major war going on. I mean, Afghanistan, okay, fine. We've been at war for so long, people just roll their eyes. But there's not like people burning draft cards over Afghanistan. But like this era, there's so much drama going on just at home, just people disagreeing over politics and having street fights and stuff. But I think 100 years from now, it's going to be brushed over a lot more than we think it will. Yeah, we pay far more attention to wartime history. I want to see how our era is documented. Me too. Better to hedge your bets and be religious. In a way, if you're just being religious to hedge your bets, that's not like true faith in God. That's just trying to be safe. But I mean, if you can turn that into true faith, that would be good. I think religion, one of the awesome things about it is that people use it to exercise the muscle of willpower and self-control. Um, Like, I've seen chimp studies where, if you know the marshmallow test from psychology, you give a marshmallow to a 3-year-old and tell you if you can wait 15 minutes without eating it, the adult is going to come back and give you double the treats. Chimps fail that in like 3 seconds. Bonobos, all the apes. But humans can do it, and we're like one of the few who can, if not the only one. And that, I think, is what generations and generations and generations of religion has given us. We're training our ability to delay gratification. What interests me most about history is how everyday average people behave just like we do. Yep. Hedging your bets to avoid punishment, not genuine face. Yep. Chimps love marshmallow. Yeah, they really do. This next section of reading is gonna take more than a half hour, so I will save that for tomorrow. And I can just have fun talking to chat for a little while. Wouldn't God know you believe merely to hedge your bet? Yes, he would. That, too, wasn't long ago either. I mean, you think about it, if a human lives for 50 years, 500 years ago was only 4.5 human lifetimes ago. The American Revolution was like 10 or 12 generations of ancestry ago. I'm thinking about my own genealogical chart because I've tracked it. Whoops, I'm off a little. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, but for me, it's 12 generations to my ancestor who was around in the Revolution. Great pronunciation, although I think Jan would be as Jan in Dutch. Thank you for the note. I thought about it, my math is off. Yeah, I know in Prague it's Jan Hus. I should have thought of that. Yeah, thanks for the note, Reese. Yeah, so what else? What's everybody got going on? I got coffee going on. And usually while I'm recording, while I'm editing, I have a show or something playing in the background. Right now it's Switched at Birth. I'm like right around the end of season 2. Would not survive 5 minutes in the 18th century. Funny you say that. I'm actually reading the Outlander book series right now. I watched the show a few years ago, and now I'm reading the books. And I'm on book 3, where Jamie is in Ardsmuir. They don't have iPhones back then. Indeed, they did not. I like coffee. Yeah, I'm happy I decided to do this stream. Reese says they didn't have iPhones, but I bet they had Android. I bet people in the future have Androids. Not the same kind of Android as a phone, but it would be fun to, like, get an electronic eye or something. Imagine going back in time with an iPhone. They would worship you until the battery ran out, so like a day at most. But no, imagine going to the future and needing an eye transplant and getting like a mechanical electronic eye that can like see infrared and heat signatures and stuff like that. And see like parts of the light spectrum that normal eyes can't see. You should read Connecticut Yankee and King Arthur's Court. Mark Twain actually wrote a lengthy story about just a dude from his time going back in time to the time of King Arthur and getting worshipped as a sorcerer and like riding a horse with a lasso and like lassoing knights and winning jousts like that. 6-7. Yeah, Mark Twain wrote some good stuff. You could get a solar-powered battery charger and live as a god forever. I like the meme of the guy from the future going back in time and talking to the caveman. So how does this electricity work? I don't know. They would make a religion out of you. Maybe. That reminds me of like Ancient Aliens where they're like looking at carved stone walls in like India and Egypt and places like that and thinking like it might be an alien with a spacesuit and like comparing it to modern astronaut suits. I would lick potatoes in a series to create a non-emittary battery pack to charge my phone. I did that with pennies once. Once. And it got like, I think I got it to like 3 volts or something. Fun times. Copper and zinc. I remember chemistry was really fun in school. I forgot a lot of it. I remember a lot of geometry. Of course, I remember a lot of history because I keep learning it. Where would you go back to in history location? If I could, if I had like a magical translator brain implant that I could speak any language, I would like to see 1870s St. Petersburg. Where else would I want? I would like to see uh, Roman Cordoba, Roman Alexandria, Egypt. There's so many places. You're simply not using enough potatoes. Now you're making me curious to like look up and see the biggest potato electric setup someone's ever rigged. I wonder if Guinness Book has ever gone out to judge something like that. Yeah, where else in history would I want to go? Um, it would be fun to see 1890s through 1910s Detroit, like when the Motor City thing was starting up and getting real big. Cool, you like history? Why, yes. My channel name is B-List History, so I think I like history. Where else would I want to see? It might be cool to see Baghdad at the Islamic Golden Age when they were at like the height of their science and math, just to see what really happened. Yeah, I would enjoy going back to the people who built Stonehenge just to like see how they lived. Oh, Göbekli Tepe, I want to see how those people lived. And you know what? Just to see what happened, you know that conspiracy theory that goes around sometimes that the very, very first Chinese emperors were of European genetics. I want to go back and just see how their faces looked like, how true that really is, just to see what really happened. There's a lot of fun places you could go in history. You know what? I was reading, I think it was earlier this year, they figured out that in the Amazon rainforest, there used to be like a relatively advanced civilization that had like industrial scale farming and like decent roads and stuff. I want to go back and see how those people lived. Then we change the causal chain of history. Yeah, that's a good question. Would you want to change history? I don't think I would. What people don't realize, if you have to use a potato to get a mustache like that. I do not rub my face with a potato. I'm not entirely opposed to it. I would rather cook and eat the potato. LMAO. Yeah. Iowa Swifty, nice name. I think the Amazon rainforest is largely man-made, but I catch flack for saying it. Sounds crazy, but with enough with the right investigation into it, I could be convinced. Topics of the day: your mustache and potatoes. No relation to the big IE at the end. It is 5:30 in the AM. I think I'm gonna... Oh, my computer monitor timed out. Lighting from my live stream. Computer monitor glow. No relation to Taylor Swift. That's what I thought you were saying, and I was wondering. Yeah. Yeah, I was saying it's 5:30 in the AM. Aristotle, yep, he's leaving us, folks. It's been good. I will do this again. Probably around the same time on random weekdays when I feel like it. So, yeah. Have a good one.